I'm running out of time, so two quick questions. Username Gehoon asked via YouTube. Again, something referring to something I said in my editorial about transactional fairness, that if we even set aside all the political ideas involved, let's at least start with the very basics, that there should be a transactional fairness to the way things are done, the way land is taken, the way development projects are set up, the way industrial projects are set up. And you ask a very good question. You said that is transactional fairness even possible? You ask, is there any country, any capitalist country in the world where there is transactional fairness? You're right that, in a capitalist society, transactional fairness is a very ambiguous thing. But I do believe that largely in a purely microcosm, in a sort of micro frame, where we are not talking on a wide landscape, but on just project to project basis, transactional fairness is possible. The very basis of that, first of all, is dialogue, to go and ask the people who have the resources that you want, that what are the conditions and what are the terms under which they're willing to even part with either all their resources or part of the resources. So I'm saying at the very basis, that is possible. Nandigram has proved that it's possible, that if you don't do it, they will just stop you from taking it. Singur has shown that. Increasingly, recently in Andhra Pradesh, there was again a flare-up over land where a thermal power plant was going to be set up. What is being proven again and again is that set aside all the large big questions about should we go the capitalist route or the socialist route, what is possible, what is not possible, on a purely project to project basis, transactional fairness is possible. At least all the parties involved can arrive at a situation where everyone leaves the table happy. I think at the very basis, that is a seed that we can follow. And through that, I think the larger, more sort of recalcitrant questions will get answered. So it's not about just the capitalist society. In any society, there has to be transactional fairness. And that is what people are demanding, I think. One quick question, Deepak Ghosh asked via YouTube that Mamata Banerjee had proved through Singur and the Nandigram agitations that a democratic protest is possible, and why don't the Maoists take this route? I've been saying again and again that, one does not believe in the Maoist way, but Indian society as it stands today has left it as a very, very muddy question that if you do not get violent, will the government really listen to you? The reason that Nandigram and Singur got the attention it did, there have been many peaceful land protests before that, is because it did get fairly violent. Well, not in terms of the obvious use of guns and things, but there was the cutting off of roads, there was a certain amount of arms and ammunition that had gathered there. There was a very militant aggression to it, and I feel, yes, that was a creative response, certainly more creative than the Maoist way, but we keep forgetting that the Maoists are a political party. We tend to think of them as some sort of, loose group of criminals. That's not true, really. There is a political motivation, there is a political worldview, and we cannot prescribe that they abandon that worldview. We can argue with it, we can challenge them to come onto the table and to argue, but we cannot prescribe that they set aside a political ideology and become us. They believe in a different way of the world, and that is something that challenges us. We have to engage with it. We have to understand it. We have to challenge their notions and hopefully push them to understand why perhaps it no longer has the validity that it may have had earlier. I'm talking here about communism. But I say it again and again that the principles right now that they're raising are things that are questions to Indian democracy, and it is not questions about communism and capitalism. In fact, a very interesting thing, when Azad was shot dead a couple of weeks ago, one of the Maoist commandos from Dantewara was speaking to me on the phone, and I was challenging him about these very things. And he said, I said, when you're raising all these important issues of justice, why is it that you keep getting sidelined and people only think of you as capturing state power 50 years from now and setting up a communist rule, probably under which none of us want to live? And he said, wo to baat ki baat hai. Right now we are not fighting for communism, we are fighting for democracy. And right now, in this historical time, that has a plangent tone and a kind of cogency. It has an integrity that common people and ordinary people and oppressed people are obviously warming to. That is not something we can turn our faces away from. Right now, yes, they are fighting for democracy. They are fighting actually for us to be constitutional. And then we'll face the communist battle when we have to come to it. See you guys in a while. I hope that helped clarify some of the questions that you asked.